would leave with a smile. And that's the art of human exchange, which I learned from her. The other thing, too, is it's okay to be number two. You don't always have to be number one because if you think about Bill Gates' right hand man, he was worth many billions of dollars before he died, and he was number two. So you don't always have to be number one. There's a place for you for that. Now, really getting down to business, one of the things we can talk a lot about is what are the spiritual lessons that we learn? Spiritual lessons are spiritual laws. They can't be broken. And unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand this. For example, the Bible says your body's like a temple. That means to be successful, you have to get enough sleep at night. You have to have a good diet. You have to go to your doctor. You have to take care of your temple. It's an asset. Your good health is an asset, and you have to be a CEO. So that's one of the key lessons, whether you're spiritual or not. That's just a key lesson uh, in general. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or Muslim or whatever your religion is, that all religions pretty much have the same principles on improving yourself, running a business, managing debt or not having debt. Um, these Christians and Muslims, they really in the books that they have been written and that they've abide by have taught them many things. So uh, be very aware of your spiritual side. One of the things that I have learned over the years is the idea of giving back, the idea of participating and helping other people. You know, what goes around comes around, really is true. And I've had some people do some terribly nice things for me that I wasn't expecting and frankly really needed. But because for some reason or another, they saw fit to send a blessing on to me as well. Now let's talk about my favorite people, the geese. Geese. Now you say, how could the geese be your favorite people? Kind of simple. See now, just think about this. As each goose flaps its wings, it creates uplifts for others behind it. There's 71% more flying range in a V formation flying alone. This is a simple spirit of drafting. You know how race cars draft, DRAFT, on one another to keep the wind velocity all even and going a certain way? Well, it's the same thing with geese. They fly better. Teamwork works if you work it. So people who have a common direction and a sense of purpose working together can get there more quickly if they learn to work together. Collaboration is the key to success. Whenever a goose flies out of formation, it feels drag and tries to get back into position. What's the lesson? It's harder to do something alone than when we're all working together. Now you say, I already knew that, but sometimes we forget, so these are just reminders. Another one is when the lead goose gets tired, it rotates back into formation and another goose flies at the head. Renew, renew. So knowing when to back off and let someone else be the leader of the team, particularly with expertise. So the lesson is shared leadership and independence, interdependence give us each a chance to lead as well as an opportunity to rest. One of the things for certain I can tell you as an entrepreneur, you're going to get tired. You're going to need some help. You're going to need to not only be healthy, but sometimes there's more work more often than not than you can do. So you have to pace yourself. You have to use some common sense. What's the lesson? Encouragement is motivating. We need to make sure that all of our honking is encouraging and not discouraging. So with our team members, we need to encourage them. We need to teach them to be supportive of one another. Those are some of the key lessons. Now, also when a goose gets tired or wounded and falls back, another goose falls out and stays with it until it revives or dies. Okay. Then they catch up or join another flock. So when one of the geese or goose in the pack gets sick, falls behind, somebody stays back with them till either they get well or die. But Marines do the same principle, military, same operation. So the lesson is we all need help from time to time, and we should stand by our friends in difficult times. Many years ago, I was in West Africa, and I came back with a case of malaria. I never knew what it felt like to get a goodwill card from the members of my church. Each one of those is like a drop of medicine to me. Somebody said, "Should I sure hope, Mr. Jones, you get better?" Because I was hoping to get better too. The point I'm simply making here is we all need help from time to time. We should stand by our friends in difficult times because surely you will have difficult times at some point. I believe and have learned that there are pretty much four things that make you successful. Might be others, but these are the core. Faith in God. That probably was my last one, although I came from a very religious family. I grew to a point as a young man, I got tired of going to church. Well, I'm back now for a number of years for a lot of good reasons. You won't be able to build a successful business or family if you don't put your faith and trust in a higher power, God, someone called, if you're not grounded spiritually. And I don't believe anything will truly prosper unless you have that grounding. So faith in God is high on the list. One of the things that I learned years ago was I started, when I would go to church, I'd be terrified at 11 o'clock because I knew I didn't have Monday's payroll. I knew it was a big payroll. I'm not talking about nickels and dimes. And I might have had some of it, but I would say, "Oh, Lord, please, where am I going to get this from?" So I learned to have faith that come Monday morning, I'd have it. And you know something? Sometimes the postman would show up just about 1 minute to 12, just before the checks had been cut, but before we could really put them in the bank. So that's a little personal story, but good planning helps you have faith too. Confidence. If you don't have confidence in yourself and your product and your services, neither will your customers. The best pots and pans salesmen are the people who use those pots and pans themselves, because they can tell you the pros and cons of pan A and pan B, or part A or B or C. And I say that confidence is the key. I never met a great business person who had a service or a product that didn't talk about their product like it was the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, you say, "Well, where's the proof? Show me the research." Oh, a lot of them didn't have the research at all, but they believed that what they did was number one. Now, eventually they had to prove that it was number one and the product would perform as they said, but it started with their confidence. My friend Cornell McBride, a military guy, poor guy without a bathroom in his home until he was 21, went to the military and became a pharmacist. A pharmacist. He tired of pushing pills, as he called it, and he invented a product called Stay Soft Pro, which we were talking about some successful role models, and those role models also included many women. Katie B. Catalan, who is head of the National Association of NBCL, National Beauty Culturalists League. And that's an organization of 8,000 women worldwide that are cosmetologists, estheticians, men too, barbers, and their professional group. This year, they're celebrating their 100th anniversary. Can you imagine an association lasting for 100 years? She's been a terrific leader in helping them to improve the services of about 160,000 beauty professionals serving about 40 million people of color. Madam C.J. Walker, Friends of Caruso, the great Caruso, rather, the great Italian opera singer. living in New York State, was the first American female millionaire. Before 100 years before Oprah, and God bless Oprah's success. Madam C.J. Walker is one of the people who gave back, and she was involved in the Niagara movement, which was a movement with Booker T. Washington in talking about freedom for Black people. I think it's important to be a good entrepreneur. You have to know history. You have to know what happened before, what's happening now, as with some idea of what's going to happen a little bit in some degree in the future. But there are many, many leaders in this category. Comer Cottrell, who was a great patron of Bishop College in Dallas, Texas, was just a soldier boy, created a Proline Corporation, sold his business for more than $100 million. They used to have the jet waiting for him on the runway, asking him to sign the papers to turn over his company, which took him many years to do because he was a shrewd negotiator. But when I would come to Dallas, I lived in Chicago, LA, New York, Atlanta, and Dallas simultaneously. I lived in all those cities, flying from one city to another when I was head of the American Health and Beauty Aids Institute, which was the association of about 40 or 50 minority-owned companies in the beauty business. And Comer Cottrell and I'd come to see him. He says, "Well, don't come by the office. Let's wait till tonight and we'll go out together." Well, we go out together. You know what we were doing? Going to his car washes. He had 10 car washes, quarter car washes. And we'd go around with these buckets and collect these quarters. And by the end of the evening, we had 10 or 15 buckets of quarters. And he would say, these quarters really count. And they did, because 4 quarters in a dollar. Now, if you get 10 or 15 buckets of that, you got a nice piece of money. And on top of it, he would say, like my father would say, let's get to the first count on the money, which meant before it was counted formally by the government. It's hard to keep with. I'm not saying he was a crook, because he wasn't. He just was a shrewd businessman, employing the best tactics that he knew to make his business successful. So there are men, there were women, and there's a person who I did business with who was not an African American. His name was Bill Smith. And Bill Smith, I met when he was head of the Popcorn Institute. And he taught me to be head of the American Health and Beauty Aids Institute, the National Black MBAs, the National Bankers Association, and the International Sports Lawyers Association, Black Entertainment Sports Lawyers Association, BESLA, and also the Black Engineering Society. And he was the mastermind. He ran 700 associations simultaneously and had offices in London, Paris, Zurich, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. And he would always say to me around 6 o'clock, because he would take a 2-mile walk at 6 o'clock. He was in his late 70s, early 80s. And he'd also say when he was losing the battle at the conference table, guys, I'm getting kind of tired and I got to go to bed now. He was a person, the spirit. He was a vegetarian. He was a humanist. He's a white guy. And one day I came into the office because he said, he didn't share my offices. He was chairman of the company and invited me, this little brother, to have an office next to his in this, with 700 employees. And people were wondering, how did you get in here? Well, I wondered too. But it turned out that the day I came to the office, there were some people who had climbed up the side of a building. These kind of different people who decided they're going to climb up the side of a large building. And he went down and got them out of jail. And he was the kind of guy who secretly sent money to civil rights movements when Martin Luther King and others were arrested. He wasn't very noisy, but he was very fair. He was a good businessman, but he had a spirit and a sense about him. So I've met a lot of people along the way and developed good relationships with them that are lifelong. My wife often says, in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And that is so true. So part of the idea of marketing your company, one of the principles is people have to admire or like you or respect you or want to do business with you. Because they like you, you got a shot. Imagine two salespeople marketing through the same door, the same product, and they don't like one. It took me a long time to learn that being the toughest guy wasn't necessarily going to get me to have people have more respect for me. Anybody can be tough. It's a question of being judicious and fair to people. That's what folks are looking for. Now, finally, as we wrap this up, we've talked about the geese. We talked about a number of things. But I want to share with you what I have found that helps people to be successful. And they're in this order. Faith in God. Some people call it a higher power. But the point is really simple, that when you have faith, that is the belief in things that are unforeseen, things that you don't necessarily know. If you're not grounded spiritually and you don't believe in anything, you're probably not going to prosper, because there are going to be hard times and good times and okay times, and you have to be built for the distance. Confidence is not just having confidence that you can do it, but confidence is the ability to say that you don't know something. Imagine how many meetings that I've been to, I didn't have a clue about what they were talking about. Now, I learned to be a good listener, and good listeners are people who have confidence, people who ask questions, reasonable questions, not to slow the train down or the thought process. These are the kind of people you want to be around. People who have confidence in even in you, even in what you're doing. It'll take you a long way. Now, discipline, without self-discipline, you can't expect to build a successful business. The journey is long and hard, and you got to be committed all the way. That's just the way it is. And when you do it well, it's fun. It can also be fun too when things aren't going well. Things will not always go well. Guarantee you. Personal experience. But at the same time, when they are going well, enjoy it and enjoy the ride, as they say. Determination. That's the last one. John Johnson, Madam C.J. Walker, Freddie Luster, Dr. Catalan, Joe Dudley, Ursula Dudley, Cornell McBride, Comer Cottrell as children. And the list goes on and on of these family, Family, of entrepreneurs. Usually they come in families. Entrepreneurship is taught in families and other. They've became millionaires. Being a millionaire is just a measurement of success, because many people have been millionaires many times and not millionaires many times. It's a roller coaster, up and down, but it's a ride, because they were determined to continue in the face of adversity. Imagine going to Detroit to sit in the General Motors building for 5 years every Wednesday, and he wasn't flying, he's going on a train, okay, from Chicago to Detroit. Have no one speak to you in the lobby. And finally, someone says, John H. Johnson, as you would say. Someone said, why are you here? He says, I'm here to see the chairman. Does the chairman know? The chairman doesn't know. He says, he might. And finally, Lee Iacocca, son, one guy, his father, said, there's a black guy down here in the lobby, and nobody knows why he's here. He says, well, bring him upstairs. He must be here for a reason, right? Who would do that? But he just kept forging ahead. And he forged ahead so long that he got on the board of directors. Lee Iacocca became one of his best friends, because Lee Iacocca knew what other people know. If a guy can build a $400 million business starting with $500 just because he's black, must be something special about him. The same thing with a guy who you probably heard of, Bob Johnson, another nice human being. Here's a guy who's sitting in a Senate meeting. He's working for a senator, an aide. And a guy named Malone comes in the door, who heads up all of the broadcasting in the U.S., cable, and says that he's looking for people with $50,000 to buy one of these nodes on a satellite. We ain't even hardly heard of a satellite except Sputnik. And Bob said that he listened. He's a good listener. The end of the meeting, he says, Mr. Malone, if I got $50,000, could you sell me a node? And of course, white guy says, where's that guy get $50,000 from? He looked at him and says, yes. And that's when he became a billionaire because he was a good listener. He was at the right place at the right time. And he acted upon it. And he actually had the $50,000. Now he had to mortgage his house and take some risk. He didn't have just laying around, like he's a number banker or something. He had to work for this money. And he is one of the nicest people and smartest. He's into everything. He's in the movies and the TV. He started BET. He turned a television set into a jukebox, never producing any movies. So I've had a good time today talking to you about some things that I think are keys to success. The fact that I've been an entrepreneur all of my life. We talked about lessons from masters, Millionaires Roundtable. Talked about the lessons of the geese and the goose. Don't forget about them. They know teamwork works and they know how to work it. We talked about spiritual lessons and the fact that certain principles never died. It's just principles for life. And then we talked about the 4 keys to success. And I can tell you the one that I found most powerful for me was faith in a higher power. I didn't always have that. I mean, I ain't got it sometimes. I don't have it sometimes now because it comes and goes. But faith is one of the things that can lead you ahead. Thank you for allowing me to be on your show and in your program and conference, Mr. Jimmy Davies. Thank you. Good afternoon. Will you push that question up again, please? I didn't see it quite all the way. Thank you. Well, some of the things they have in common, again, is they all have faith. They also are very hard workers. These are people who work night and day. And another thing is, with few exceptions, they have a nice time. They live good lives. And for the most part, they're good family people. And I've learned a lot from them about being on time, being courteous, and just being nice in general. Now, one of the toughest of them all was John H. Johnson. But he also was fair, and he also kept his commitments. And he promised you something he would deliver. And I appreciate that very much because we worked hard. And he also believed in first class. He treated us all in a first class way with the cars we drove and the salaries we made and the way that he treated us and treated other human beings. But he's a pretty tough guy, for real. Well, Cormac McBride Sr., there's Cormac McBride Jr., who is roughly a 45 or 50-year-old son who runs the companies now. But Cormac McBride Jr. was a very, very special person because, as I said before, he was a soldier who, before he was a soldier, he lived in a home in Savannah, Georgia with no bathroom and with 5 or 6 brothers and sisters that all slept in the same room. He went to the military, he came from the military, he went to college when he was 23 or 24, and then he decided he would be a pharmacist. Once he became a pharmacist, he didn't necessarily love the idea of being a pharmacist because it was, in his opinion, and I guess others too, a good profession, but it was monotonous and pushing pills. So he created a product called Stay Soft Fro, which at the time was created to help those of us who had very large naturals. I'm bald now, but I had a huge natural in back in the day, as they said. And our hair was dry, and he created a product that kept our hair from breaking. He took his little company from just making bottles in his home kitchen to $10 million in a 4 or 5 year period. There are just so many people that I have met along the way, both men and women, black and white. First part of my career was working with people who, in general markets, Procter and Gamble, Unilever, Kraft, General Mills, ConAgra, big brands. And then I had the opportunity through my wife, Sandy Miller Jones, to go to Johnson Products. There are many Johnsons in the city of Chicago. Johnson Products, George Johnson, Johnson Publishing, John H. Johnson, and there were some other Johnsons around. A young man owned a Cadillac dealership, one of the biggest in the nation, Johnson Cadillac, if you will. So I admired all of them because, one of the things about us is maybe all human beings, but in particular Black people, if we see you do it, and not only were they smart, they acted on their beliefs, and they created many things, magazines, products, technology programs, just a host of things. And I'm proud to have been associated with them. I'm now in my late 70s, believe it or not. I was a kid that never thought he'd live to be 50 because I had a good time along the way, I must say. But I had some very serious times too. And what's happened in the beauty business, it's a $7 billion plus industry. And there have been many, many giants in that category. People ask what's happened to the business. Well, like in America, business changes hands all the time. Some people lament the fact that the soft sheens of the world and others were sold to general market companies, but that's the way of the world, the business world. The larger fish eat the smaller fish. It's always been that way. And I think we missed an opportunity, we as African Americans, to be retailers. We had the opportunity. I think sometimes people will say that it was taken from us. It wasn't taken from us. I dispute that fact, although many people believe it. I was there. It's a myth. We had the opportunity to own as many beauty stores as we wanted. Not many African Americans have historically been in the retail business. It's been a difficult road for us. And now more than ever are in the retail business, but we didn't see that as the opportunity. Most of our folks became manufacturers or chemists or others. We had some, it's growing now, and I'm proud to say that there are many middlemen or retail stores that are growing along the way. I'm also a person who has a contrarian idea about the Asians. I think the Asians have brought many good things to the business, and I think that they've been pretty tough to deal with, but many of the companies have learned to navigate that space and do well with their products. And as a matter of fact, there are 10,000 of them in the US now. They're doing about 7 billion. And believe it or not, Walmart fears Walmart than my Walmart. So there are different perspectives on it, not just mine. Other people believe other things. I happen to believe that they brought some good things to the business. They've been tough to deal with now. It's not been a cakewalk. So that's generally my position on the Asian world. And I have a lot of Asian friends that I've worked with. So Mr. Johnson used to say to me all the time, if you can sing a better song or build a better mousetrap, then you can win. So those folks out there who want to be in the distribution side of the business, I encourage you. Tough fight. You got to be smart, got to have capital, have to understand how the system works, and you don't get to cry about it all the time, because crying and complaining doesn't work. What was my relationship with John Lewis? I am proud to say that John Lewis went to Fisk University, where I went to Fisk University, FISK, in Nashville, Tennessee. In the old days, they would seat us by our last names, and it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, Jones, K, and then Lewis, JKL. So John Lewis and I sat next to each other for
3 or 4 years in all the classes. I got to know him pretty well. He was a poor boy, a very poor boy. Now I was poor too, but I wasn't as poor as John. John really, didn't have very much at all. He's a stubborn, tough guy. I mean, he took some whippings going down to Mississippi and Alabama that it's hard to believe. Now, again, people forget about the importance of having other points of view. At the time, Malcolm X was pretty popular and had another point of view. I happen to believe in another school. You kill my dog, I kill your cat. That was kind of the way it was. So we didn't think the movement in terms of civil rights was wrong. We just had a different point of view. We're not going to let you do certain things to us. But and so those two factors in the business, I think, in the world of civil rights, really, I think, helped in many ways because it also taught the general market that there were some of us who were not interested in taking a beating at all. And there were others who saw the political power. John Lewis was a person who saw the political power of nonviolence. And he and Dr. King, who came to our school many times, were full proponents of that. So John Lewis is a guy that you sat next to in class. When I read about him now, when I saw him before he passed, you would never believe this was he was the same guy he always was, but you would never believe that he would have been as great as he was. But he was a giant, and he proved it. And his belief system helped us to gain many things, mainly public accommodations and the right to vote and some other things. So I applaud John Lewis. And John Lewis, I think you were right about what you used to tell me. Oh yeah, are there opportunities in the hair care business? First of all, let's get the word straight. It's not just hair care; it's the beauty business. Remember, I don't have any hair, but there are products for scalp, and there's scalp treatment. There are products for shaving. So it's hair, skin, face, teeth, nails, body. Even health food products are, some people think, beauty products. So when we look at the beauty business, we need to expand our focus beyond just making things for hair care, because all those things work in the world of beauty. And we have had, we've been beautiful a long time, predecessors to Cleopatra and others. Now, hair has been our focus because the relative ease of getting into the business in terms of chemical barriers and others is pretty, not simple, but a lot of good chemists around. Black chemists, Pakistani chemists, all kinds of chemists. But skincare is a big opportunity, has always been. Nail care. You look at Black women, just look at the beauty of Black women, and you look at them from their head to their toe. Mr. George Johnson used to say to me all the time, son, it was a big deal, but I was always a son. Son, our job is to help Black women to be even more beautiful. And we were taught that it was our job to find a way to make things more beautiful. So the answer to your question is yes, there are huge opportunities in the business. Many people go on to the hair care side because they saw that what other people were doing. But look beyond that. Recently, I met some people that are just incredible. I met some Black shoe designers recently. Black shoe designers. The foot is a beautiful part of the body too. And so it's not just products that are liquids or others, it's also implements. A good person in the business for a long time has been Willie Morrow on the West Coast. Willie Morrow has collected, he's the guy who invented the Afro pick. He's a Black guy. And he's in his probably mid 80s now. His daughter, Sherman Morrow, is helping her father along, Dr. Cheryl Morrow. So, yes, there are many opportunities in the business, and it's not just in the beauty business, it's not just hair. Well, the universal laws of success, it's always the same old story. You know, you got to show up on time. People buy from those they like. You know, if they like you, as I said earlier in the presentation, you got a shot. You can be as smart as you want, but if they like you and you're smart, you got two aces in the hole. And your reputation is everything. Um, People buy products because they, or programs or services because they believe that it works. So there's some, we talk about good health. I can tell you now that I'm probably in the late 70s and not the best health I've ever been in, but pretty good for a nearly 80-year-old guy. Health can be a plus or a minus, and eventually we all will take what is it called? We'll transcend to the next life. You know, no one gets out of here alive. But meanwhile, while we're here, adhere to some principles. Right now, COVID is hurting a lot of Black folks. My company is doing some work in the COVID arena, and I want us all to take this so seriously. I mean, thousands of people are dying, and a lot of them are Black people because we have underlying conditions, health conditions. We have diabetes, we are overweight, we except for the athletes, we don't exercise enough, and we have suspect diets, what we take. So, you know, I call it the temple. We need to take better care of our temple because when we get sick, which is going to happen to all of us, we want to have the best chance of having some higher quality of life, and we want to live as long as we can. My mother died 2 years ago at 96. All of her sisters, except one, lived to 94, 95. These sisters really took care of themselves. Only one smoked cigarettes, only one out of all of them, which is quite amazing. So hats off to Black women. Oh, Bob Johnson and Earl Graves. Well, first of all, I knew them because we used to deliver checks to them from Johnson Products and Johnson Publishing. Remember that banks weren't so friendly 40 years ago. So we had to learn to help each other. And as the son, the so-called son, the young one, I got the privilege of always having a large check stuck in my pocket as I headed to the airport and say, you know, you're going to be in LA today, tomorrow. Stop by Soul Train, make sure Don Cornelius gets it. Or if I'm in New York, stop by and see our friends over at Essence. We owe them X amount, and I need you to drop this check off. We can't wait for the bank to deliver this. So my relationship with Bob Johnson, as I said before, it's hard to believe when I first met Bob Johnson, and I was living, I lived in many cities simultaneously, living in LA part-time. He said, when are you going to come to DC? I said, I'm going to be there tomorrow. He says, I'll pick you up at the airport. Well, I'm a big boy. I'm not used to people picking me up at the airport. You know, I navigate the world. But over time, I learned that there are some very kind people. He drove his car from his office to the airport to pick me up, little old me. And then he took me to his office, and we made a commercial, and he shot the commercial, he produced the commercial, and he ran the commercial for 5 years in support of the Black-owned companies. We had a symbol called the Proud Lady. It was a silhouette of curly hair and wavy hair, and we put on the back of all of our products and put about $5 million worth of advertising behind it. And Bob Johnson gave back. He gave us $1 million or $2 million worth of advertising on BET. That's the kind of guy he was. He's a person who gave back. He's, again, all these folks are disciplined, but they're smart too. And you know what else? They know how to count money. They didn't always know how to count money, but they learned how to count money. Um, I'd like to introduce you to Sandy Miller Jones. Sandy's going to come on the same screen I am. Sandy Miller Jones is a fabulous person. Sandy Miller Jones is my Mrs. Jones for 35, 36, well, 35 years to be exact. And Sandy Miller Jones is first African-American woman to graduate from the Kellogg School of Business. Kellogg is rated above Harvard. And she graduated the first Black MBA. And she used to say to me, you know, all the MBAs in my class who were Black could sit on this sofa, maybe 4 people. And so she had to be very special. She's made her specialty of helping other Black people. She just a terrific background. She ran a couple $100 million worth of businesses at Quaker, Captain Crunch, that you may know of, and other brands that were part of the Quaker family. She started our business, which I became part of, Segmented Marketing Services, in 1978. And she made a pitch to the chairman, the guy who became the chairman, who was her boss, that there was an opportunity among African Americans to try their products. And she created a sampling company. And that sampling company she created went on to have customers like Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola, General Mills, General Foods, the best, the top brands in the US. Now, Sandy has now dedicated her life to helping people live a better life. And the name of her company is SMSI, Healthy Living Solutions. And for Cross Blue Shield, Humana, Aetna, Magic Johnson Enterprises, and United Healthcare, she provides them with information as to how to best serve African Americans. She's done some work for the U.S. government and so forth. So I'm pleased to say, introduce you to my life. And by the way, Sandy's one of the founders of the Black MBA Association in Chicago and others. I'm proud to say and introduce my wife and life partner, business partner, my best friend and best coach ever, Sandra Miller Jones. Sandy?
Thank you so much, Lafayette. I do appreciate all the support that you provide, and I want everyone to know what a fine business partner and life partner you are as well. We're going to talk today about the Affordable Care Act. There are so many people who have benefited from this Obamacare, and so many who still don't know enough about it to be able to take advantage of the many very excellent qualities that Obamacare has. So I think there's a film that we're going to play, a video that will talk more about Obamacare and a little about our company, Segmented Marketing Services as well. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I do appreciate being here with you this evening. It has been just a privilege to know you and to work with you over the past several years now. And I'm especially grateful to have a chance to talk with a group of entrepreneurs. I have so much respect for entrepreneurs. Having been in business now for almost 40 years, I know the ups and downs that we all are going through. and especially right now. Many of you have been reading the news about how many folks are unemployed now, and it looks like there are well over 36 million people unemployed in the United States. That was the figure in the middle of this month, and it continues to rise. Of course, as usual, African Americans have a greater burden to bear than most other folk. Our unemployment number is about almost 17% unemployment among African Americans in the US, exceeded only by Hispanics, who are almost 19%. The unemployment rates vary very much from state to state. It's as low as 8% in Connecticut and as high as 28% in Nevada. North Carolina is about in the middle of that. We're about 12.2% unemployment overall. But the really sad part, and the part that hits us tremendously, is that nearly 40% of the households that earn under $40,000 a year have at least one person unemployed in their household. So that's a lot of the folk that we know, our neighbors, our friends, our family. And of those people who are unemployed, at least half of them have lost their employee health insurance. That figure is expected to rise also over the next year. And we're looking at probably 40 million people who will be losing health insurance during this pandemic situation. Jimmy? The good news is, for many of them, is that Obamacare has provisions in that law that may enable many of these unemployed, recently unemployed folks to be able to get health insurance at an affordable rate. I'm going to tell you more about Obamacare and how you can obtain more information about it. But first, I'd like to just tell you a little about our company, because one of the things that we've been doing over the years is trying to help people to live healthier lifestyles. Jimmy? Over this 40 years, we started off our company in Chicago, Illinois, and we were there in Chicago for about 12 years with the company. Then in 1990, we decided to come back to North Carolina, where my parents were and where Lafayette's parents moved, so that we could be with our families. Over these 40 years, we have reached out to communities across the nation, and we've built teams of folk who are trying to also do outreach into their communities in the top. Now it's 35 cities. It had 30 markets on this slide, but now we're at 35. We do a number of things. We distribute free product samples, for example. We've distributed millions of free product samples throughout our communities across the nation. And we have distributed information as well. Jimmy, if you'll go. We worked for all sorts of clients, large and a few small, but mainly nations who have an interest in reaching out to our community. And in the last, 20 years now, we focused very heavily on partnering with clients who have an interest in improving the health of our community. You see Edna as one of those clients, and just about all of the clients that are outlined here have done things or have a mission as part of their mission to help improve the health of our communities. Jimmy? We've built networks of churches, beauty salons, barbershops, entertainment venues, other kinds of networks, senior networks. to help us to reach the families and individuals that could benefit from services and products we buy. We can reach, oh my goodness, my last count was 6.8 million households through our networks. And that enables us to reach at least half of the African American or Hispanic households in any major market that you choose. Jimmy? One of the ways in which we distribute information is through a custom publication that my husband and business partner, Lafayette Jones, and his team developed and continue to develop and distribute for a number of clients. I guess we've done more than 50 of these for various clients across our 40 years. Urban Call is the name of the publication. And you'll see there that our emphasis continues to be healthy living every day. Jimmy? Here is an Urban Call publication that we are distributing now that talks about ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. To help you understand the Affordable Care Act, I want to just give you a few details. Jimmy? First of all, the Affordable Care Act is the law. It is sometimes called Obamacare. It was signed into law in 2010, and it continues to be the law. Jimmy? There are benefits to Obamacare insurance or Affordable Care Act insurance that many people do not know. If, for example, if you have a child or dependent who is under 26 and who is on your income tax return, they can stay on your insurance until they are 26 years old. Doesn't matter whether they're married, doesn't matter if they're in school. As long as they're part of your income tax return, you can keep them on your insurance. Also, Obamacare demands that you get free care, no cost to you, for preventive care. So you can get your annual physical, mammogram, colonoscopy, all at no cost to you, and other preventive services as well. Your immunizations at no cost. During this pandemic, if there are immunizations that you have to have, or when they come up with a vaccine, and we are praying that that'll be soon, those will be at no cost to people who have ACA insurance. There was a time when insurance companies could put you off of their insurance if your costs got too high. Cancer patients, for example, the cost could really run into millions of dollars to care for a cancer patient. And there were times when after the cost reached about $2 million, insurance companies would discontinue your insurance. That can't happen anymore, not under the Affordable Care Act. Also, if you have a pre-existing condition, you cannot be excluded from getting insurance just because of that. Even if you're in a hospital right now, you can still sign up for Obamacare, because no pre-existing conditions can be considered as people insure individuals and families. Your policy cannot be canceled for anything except fraud or non-payment. If you don't pay your premium, of course, the insurance company can cancel your policy. Or if you misled the insurance company when you got the insurance, then there can be a cancellation, but nothing else. Jimmy? Obamacare also helped to ensure that there are essential services that must be provided with every insurance policy. prescription drug coverage, for example, has to be provided with every insurance policy. Laboratory services. If you have children, children must have oral and vision care included in your policy. Now, the oral and vision care, dental, which is of course oral, and vision is not included in adult policies, but for children, yes, it is included. And so these 10 essential benefits, many of which were not included in many insurance policies previous to Obamacare, now must be included. Jimmy? Obamacare enables people to get help paying for their health care, help paying for your premiums, help paying for your doctors. This help comes in the form of subsidies. These subsidies are provided by the federal government. The policies that are provided to people getting subsidies are the exact same policies that you get if you were to buy directly from the company. In North Carolina, for example, over the past couple of years, only Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina has offered Affordable Care Act insurance. And that means that they were the only company that was cooperating with the government to provide people who needed assistance paying for their insurance to get that insurance. Yes, Jimmy? Who can qualify for Obamacare? You must be a citizen or a national of the United States or a lawful immigrant, and you have to file your income tax return. You cannot be incarcerated. But if you have been incarcerated and are no longer incarcerated, yes, you do qualify for Obamacare. You have to have an income within a certain range. And an insider tip, you really must know what that range is before you make your application. Because if you are $1 below the required range, or then you will not be approved to get assistance or a subsidy. So you just have to have some idea of what this income range is for your particular situation. If you're on Medicaid or on Medicare, then you do not qualify for Obamacare. If you're married and living together, then you must file a joint return in order for either of you to get Obamacare. One of the qualifications, or one of the parameters that are used, is how many people are in the household. The more people are in the household, the more your income has to be in order to qualify. But also, the more people in the household, the more subsidy you're likely to get. When the question is asked on the application, and this is just an insider tip, we don't want to put that too much on a slide. But when the question is asked is how many people are in your household, the answer is not how many people actually live with you. The answer is how many people are on your tax return. That's what is considered your household. If you enroll in a plan offered through the healthcare.gov, it's also called the marketplace or the exchange. So healthcare.gov is the website that the government uses to house all of the people who are on Obamacare or who have Affordable Care Act insurance. It's also called the marketplace, and it's also called the exchange. but that is all the same thing, healthcare.gov. Jimmy? Here is a chart, and you can pull this chart up by Googling 2020 federal poverty level guidelines. This chart shows, you see under household size, that's how many people are in the household. And as I just said, that household consists of just the number of people that are on your income tax return. So if you have one person in the household and that person makes $12,000, $12,760, at least $12,760, then they qualify for Obamacare. So you can go all the way up to as much as, I'm just staying with one person, as much as $51,000. So people who make, with one person in the household, between $12,760 and $51,040, all qualify to get some assistance to pay for their health care, to get a subsidy. The less money you make, the more subsidy assistance you will receive. The more, so if you are making, you're a single person and you are making $50,000, the subsidy will be very low. If you are a single person and you are making $12,760, your subsidy will be very high. And when I say very high, probably cover all of your premium. So you would not have to pay a premium at all. And your doctor's visits would cost about $5. And your prescription drug cost would be as low as nothing, according to what your drug is. Now let's look at 4 people in the household, mother, father, 2 children. You must make at least $26,200, and that's everybody who is working in the household, everybody who is working, who is on your tax return. Their combined income must be at least $26,200, and it cannot exceed $103,000. All of within that range, that total range, there is some subsidy assistance that will be provided. Jimmy? Enrolling in the marketplace. Perhaps the very best thing to do to enroll in the marketplace is to work with a certified, qualified agent, insurance agent. We have a team of people that we work with to refer individuals who have an interest in enrolling or need to enroll. And we can always make a referral for you, because the agent that you work with must not only be licensed with the insurance company that will be providing, and these are private insurance companies that will be providing the insurance, but that they also must have been certified by the federal government. And it's a pretty extensive certification process. Must be certified to assist you with the enrollment. Some people are able, I know that Kim was able to go directly to healthcare.gov and follow their instructions and get enrolled. Or you could call the marketplace, and we provided a number here. But the most